All right, guys. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jason Flame, the host of the Master Motivation Podcast, and we're back. This is a take two in case you missed us last week, but this week is going to be bigger, badder, and better than ever. So we got Grandmaster Mark Parra is here today. How you doing, sir?
Excellent, sir. Excellent. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, give a shout out to all your crew and say hello real quick before I give a quick intro.
I just want to say hi to all my peoples that you guys are watching. Appreciate your love and loyalty and dedication all these years.
Guys, you're in for a treat today. I got a little snippet of it last week. We got about 20 minutes through, but we didn't get through the whole interview. So today we're doing the whole thing. And let me introduce you real quick, give you his bio. This is amazing. Mark Parra is a lifelong martial artist and respected instructor, holding black belts in 4 disciplines and recognized as one of the elite black belts honored by the Urquidez family and the Jet Center. He is the founder of the House of Champions in Van Nuys, California, an acclaimed 6,500 square foot training facility serving everyone from kids to professional athletes. Mark's martial arts journey spans decades of learning and teaching with ongoing training in Arjukanpo, Doce Pares, Muay Thai, and Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. His passion for the arts extends into the world of film and television, where he has appeared in numerous action films and TV shows, often integrating his martial arts skills on screen. As a coach and personal trainer, he's worked with celebrities, musicians, and professional fighters, while continuing to serve his community through youth outreach and anti-violence programs. Just such amazing stuff, and I know you got some great stories, sir. I'm so excited to have you back on the show.
Thank you for having me again.
And listen, I love the backdrop. I love the lighting. I like the branding on the shirt. I mean, we're looking good today.
That's our motto, man. Unstoppable.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Man, we got a lot to talk about today, so let's get it rolling. And let's start it off talking about earning your black belts, right? Earning your black belts in 4 different styles. What drew you to pursue such a diverse path in the martial arts, and how do you blend those styles in your teaching today?
Oh, wow. So I walked into the North Valley YMCA in the San Fernando Valley in 1970. I was a skinny kid, 15 years old, 16 years old, had asthma my whole life. So I didn't realize it when I walked in there, but it was going to be my life, that this would be my journey. It wasn't I didn't think that. I just wanted to train, and Sensei Benny and the Urquidez family were so good at just, they made me tap into my, I mean, that's it. So I fell in love with it. Saw Bruce. He's the same size, 5'8", 140, good day. And I said, oh man, little guys can kick. I'm one of them. I'm going to agile. That's what I'm going to be. So I found that and fell in love with it. So many great people that help guide me, push me in the right direction. This fella, Europe. I black belted. Let me get back to the deeper question. I black belted under Sensei Benny. There with my first instructor from the first day my martial arts career. When they closed 4, I was asked what 30, 40 that I was training. They said, what? 94 now. That's I was on the terrible. So we did a tour, and when I came back, I thought, oh, while I was trying to keep, said, nah. Like what? So I had to started making my private. I did it private. travel around. It, like bring your back, everything I to make a living. Still that oh cool man. So I saw some home up and I said, that's me. That's the name of my school. I'm gonna call it House of Art, not the rich. I wanted to do. I said, man, my goal is to build the heart. Of course they're gonna be good at martial arts because we do. Right? Then after school started, um, there's a long story I'll go in, but I started. You don't hear me?
You're not going to believe this, Mr. Parra, but
Wow.
we are cutting out a little bit. I bet they're sensing that. Is Jesse hearing that?
Yeah,
He's gonna get in on
that's
this. I
me,
guess.
Master Flame. Can you give me one moment? Let me try to upgrade his Wi-Fi real quick.
Yeah, all good, all good. It's pretty crazy. I don't know. Wi-Fi doesn't like you, Mr. Parra.
I don't know, man.
Wi-Fi is running away from you.
You
I'm
can
glad
go ahead and talk. You can talk something else while I'm doing this here. I just
This is my tech guy.
Tech.
Jesse Moran for you guys.
That's all right. It's all good. I think he's got the golden touch because as soon as he touched it, I started hearing you a little better again.
Well, it's the Filipino thing,
right? Well, you know.
Good right there.
What are we doing?
Yeah, you're on. Yeah, you're on the Wi-Fi right there.
All right.
I think it's
so the only challenge, guys. Only challenge is that there we go. Now we got a picture back.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's try it. Can you hear me? Think? Yeah.
I can.
I think just be closer with me.
Yeah. Is it better if I'm closer to the phone?
Sounds good right now. Everything's sounding good. Let's just kind of pick up where we left off.
Yeah. So, anyways, after I belted in my first style, I just went on to study other styles. Yukido-kan was Benny the Jet's system. When I first started in 1976, it used to be called Kempo Shotokan, and styles were just starting to begin to get blending then.
Mm-hmm.
Bruce Lee, came into my life. David Carradine and Inside Kung Fu. I mean, the Kung Fu series. I loved the philosophy and the mindset and the way that they were. And I said, man, I want to be like that. And then it just kept going. So I never stopped. Started studying Filipino martial arts in 1995 at Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. So my first 15 or 20 years was Yukido-kan, Kempo Shotokan. It was a traditional blend that offered a lot of boxing.
Mm-hmm.
Benny the Jet, right? I'm one of 16 black belts ever get belted under Urquidez family. That was kind of my like that was a milestone when I finally got to test.
Yeah.
As well as me, you never ask, when's my test? When am I doing? Your sensei will let you know when it's time for a test, whether it's a yellow belt or a fifth-degree black belt, right? So I was raised old school like that, and eventually it came around. I was a brown belt for 3 years. You know, I was a white belt. I was a yellow belt for a year and a half. This is training all the time. That's how often they test.
Yeah.
Started as the tradition was with the family at long halls and in Las Vegas. Eventually, other countries and later in my so uh, he just had a not fit, but it was the food of my Doce Pares, put karate, my box, Muay Thai, my jiu was the glue to everything. The Doce Pares, my weapon. Yeah, a master with staff and traumas. I said, well, I want something that I use is useful. I want to use it. I'm not going to use the skill and talent of it stuff, but when I developed stuff in House of Champions, it was based on combat. So it had to use. So when I the stigma, it fit in per. Now, we all care. A stick, anything, improvised weapon, the way. So that became my second love. At the same time, I started Brazilian. Oh man, I did judo, but what you do when the fight's on the pro, whether it's going on, all of the above. So that became my. That's what we let them all. Really nice. My wife love it. It's very well rounded. We're continuing to tweak us like we do artists. If there's something bigger, then I'm going to do this instead. I'm not going to hold on, especially on the combat side. If you find what works, so that's,
Yeah.
and they're doing great with it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. We're still getting a little bit of cutting in and out. I'm sure Jesse's probably noticing on his end.
Yeah, Master Flame, I'm right here. Do you mind if we switch it to my phone instead? Because there might be a setting on his phone.
If we can do that, we'll do that. Let's take a break. I'm going to play a quick video while you guys are trying to do that, and then we'll come right back to you.
All right, sound good. Sound good. Be right back.
Hey guys, it's Jason Flame, and I'm back with the Master Motivation Podcast. Mr. Parra is working on getting himself back online, and thank you for watching that last video on Raptor Extreme Karate. If you'd like some more information about that program, please let me know, and I'd love to connect you. And I'm going to go ahead and play just one more video while they're getting set up, and this is the Connected Leaders Academy.
Hi, my name is Jose Escobar, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Connected Leaders Academy. We're a growing tribe, a community of entrepreneurs all over the world, globally, all across the country, high performers, titans of industry. If you're an entrepreneur and you're looking to grow personally and professionally, scale your influence, develop your skill sets, move the needle in your business, more clients, more money, more profit, the bottom line, and of course, grow your circle and your network like never before, this is where you want to be. Join the Connected Leaders Academy today. We are scaling massively. We want to welcome you in. Check me out on Instagram and on Facebook, the @ JASCO25. We look forward to having you join us. Take care.
Hey, I was happy to show a quick video of the Connected Leaders Academy and Raptor Extreme Karate while we're getting reset back up with Master Mark Parra from House of Champions. How we sounding, Jesse?
I think it's working better, but let's see how he talks.
All right.
Hey,
Listen.
let me try to get the audio up real quickly right here because it's not on speakerphone. Give me one moment.
All good. All good.
Speakerphone.
Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you, but very softly because you're being played not through the speakerphone.
Got it.
There it is.
Okay.
There you go. Much better.
All right. Excellent. I can hear you guys perfectly well. And thank you to everybody
Up and
who is
going.
watching us live. I mean, guys, listen, this is how it works. Sometimes when you go live, I don't do any editing. I don't come back and do this again. We just go raw. But we've been with Mark Parra, and he gave us an awesome story about just the House of Champions, getting started, the different styles. You know, what I wanted to ask you while you were talking about those different styles that you have participated in over the years, what would you say was the most common thing between all four systems? And what would you say were the biggest differences, or maybe anything that, I don't know, maybe contradicted the other art?
Commonalities. Geez. Some of the commonalities that ring true for me are the instructors, the great teachers. They all had a great way to teach their system. That made the biggest impact on me. You know, a sense of humor, the fire, the passion, the history, the lineage, the love was consistent in all styles. Dojo love. We're all the same. That's why we're brothers and sisters. You know, we go anywhere in the world, and you're going to get someone to pick you up at an airport and feed you and tell you to come stay with them, and you know, so that brotherhood is the most amazing part of all of the different styles. Everybody was, you know, so deep and loving and dedicated and knowledgeable. Uh, I just was so blessed with all of that, you know. As far as striking and ground fighting and weapons go, some of it crossed over naturally. You know, you go from a certain distance with a weapon, and then you get to another distance, and your kicks and punches can get in there, or your elbows and your knees for Muay Thai. You get into grappling, judo and jujitsu is relevant, right? And then when you end up on the ground, you have to have, you know, BJJ, you know, and you better not skip the striking part of the BJJ while you're in that situation, especially for combat. Even though we never want to be on the ground for self-defense, I never want to use, I would never say my choice would be to take someone down in the street. That would be my last option. So my striking, mostly my mindset and awareness keeps me out of trouble, you know?
Yeah, I love what you said about you know, just the background of all of the martial artists, but you know, that that sense of family, and I think that I feel that coming from your school in the House of Champions, that
Yeah.
you know, everybody is there to support each other. Everybody is there to lift each other up. You know, it's funny because people that are not martial artists don't understand it. It's like, how could you beat the crap out of each other and still hug afterwards? And it's like, you have to realize that if my training partner is not, you know, working hard at attacking me, I'm not getting a reasonable skill, right? It's kind of got to be hard. I mean, I was always told the harder I got hit, or the more I got hit from the people that I sparred with, the more they loved me, because that was training me, right? I mean, is that the typical martial arts?
That's true. That's true. Man, that's certainly true. You know, we call it over here at the House of Champions. We call it dojo love. You
Dojo
know,
love.
the blessing when you get your rank. You know, when we work out together, and you push me to my limits and beyond, and you know, yeah, it's dojo love. That's what it is. Dojo love.
I love it. I love it. Hey, let's talk a little bit about your first experience training with the Urquidez family. What was that like, and how did it shape your journey in the martial arts?
The first time I walked in the North Valley YMCA, I want to say it was 1976. I walked there. I didn't, you know, we didn't have Uber and all that stuff, right? So I walked there in the hot summer sun, and I get there, and Sensei Benny and the rest of the family's training, and he says to me, "Hey, you interested, you know, in studying?" I said, yes, sir. Yes, sir, I am. He goes, all right. He goes, look, it's $30. If if and you can quit anytime. And I was like, this is the right place for me. That was the sale back in the 70s, right? You have a whole system now, obviously, right? Where you want to do your whole system, right? You're going to get me. He goes, hey, it's $30. You could quit anytime. Like, he didn't expect me to last long. They were sparring. He was in his gi, and he was world champion already. And he was sparring with Sensei Blinky Rodriguez, and Lily Urquidez Rodriguez. That was Sensei Benny's sister. And the three of them and some of the other brothers, and there was a couple black belts and some students at that time, but they were just sparring. No pads, no shin pads, no gloves, little bit of control, not much.
Just a little bit.
I was like, oh damn. I go, this is for me, man. This is gonna be challenging. And that's what I wanted. I didn't want easy. I wanted Marine Corps. I want Marine Corps martial arts, man. And Sensei Benny and the rest of the family, man, they were all about that, So.
And where did that come from in you, right? You're 15, 16 years old. I mean, I'm thinking a 15, 16-year-old walks into karate school watching, guys get after it, sparring, it's rough, it's tough.
Yeah.
I don't know many 15 or 16-year-olds that are like, yeah, like I want to do that right now. It's just, but what was it about you then? Was this part of your upbringing from your parents or, the culture in which you grew up in?
That's a great question. Great question. And I discovered that not too many years ago. I used to think my dad didn't teach me boxing, or he was in the Air Force and all that, but we didn't learn how to. Nobody in my family was a martial artist. Nobody taught me how to box in the neighborhood. None of my buddies did karate. I was kind of the first one at the time. I was still using an inhaler. The blessing is martial arts kind of made the asthma go away. The exercise and building my lung strength and all of that. So when you ask me where did I get the tenacity and all that, I think it's because I grew up with asthma. Me and my brother Michael, when we were young. When we had an asthma attack, my mom had to take us to the hospital so we could get a shot. They didn't have the Primatene Mist or anything then. And we had all these old ways that we used to have to try to get our wind back, sip water. And I was very athletic as a kid. I played everything, from the drums to baseball, basketball, football. I was in the street every day, riding my bike, skateboarding, climbing the mountains, hiking, running out through backyards. And I was on the move all the time. But certain times I would get an asthma attack. And it kind of killed my party, But I realized I learned how to fight for air. That's where I became a fighter when I was in the womb. Well, when I came out of the womb, I couldn't breathe. So I was already a natural born fighter. That's what I realized. There you go.
Yeah. And tell me, a little bit, going through the neighborhoods, like kids these days, my kids are 20 and 23. I can probably count the number of times that they went out in the cul-de-sac and played outside, right? But we grew up in a time where being outside and being on your bike and running in the neighborhoods. What was the neighborhood like that you grew up in? Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in the North San Fernando Valley in Granada Hills. I was born in 1961, and I went to school out there, elementary school, middle school, high school, John F. Kennedy High School. And everybody mowed their lawns, edged the grass. We took care of the neighborhood. There's no trash. Back in the day, you'd have to wheel your trash cans out. The trash cans didn't have wheels on them, so you had to have a thing that you could roll your, hey, don't forget to take out, my dad, don't forget to take out the trash cans for tomorrow, right? When you come up from school, they're all over
I'm
your
still
front
doing
yard.
that to my son.
You got to go put them back, But everybody had groom yards. We played together in the neighborhood. We all knew each other from school. Most of the families were still together. Divorce started in the late 60s. including my parents in the 70s. So that's when you started to see the family unit in the neighborhoods change, because they became single parent homes. The dad would leave, or the mom, or they would leave, or whatever. So it just changed the dynamic of the neighborhood, because kids weren't being raised like you and me. We used to go to church on Sunday. Most everybody had some kind of religion in their life. My mom would make lunch for me and then 15 of my kid friends. Hey guys, you want a sandwich? And she knew she was going to make 10 bologna sandwiches. Or if I went somewhere, hey, can I eat over here? Rich is having his mom said I can come eat over. So the parents took care of each other, the kids. And if my friend's mom said something to me, she had the right to, same as my mom and dad with them. We checked each other, siblings stayed together. There wasn't so much, I guess, just stuff in the world, that we're going through now, the young kids and stuff like that, But yeah, we saw Vietnam come and go, and just that whole era, it just to me, it was a golden time, man. I just remember riding my bike and riding my skateboard, and eventually, once I started training, I put a heavy bag in my garage, and I picked up some weights. Again, my parents, we didn't have any money, so I was working mowing lawns for $5 a day. I would go knock on your door and say, Mr. Flame, can I mow your lawn? You're like, there weren't a whole lot of gardener businesses back then either, so I didn't have much competition. But I must have had 10 accounts in my neighborhood. I made like $50 a week, and $2 for the movies, $1 for my candy, and I started putting $2 away here and there. Anyways, I bought weights and I started to build my body and hitting the bag. And then the kids in the neighborhood, once I started doing martial arts, my friend, now we're older, right? We're teenagers. Yep. They're seeing me in the bag, hearing the bag going off, pow, 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 boom, and I'm showing them ways to strike and do things like that. And we're doing weightlifting exercises. We're learning how to build parts of our body, and that turn on some music, and all the bikes in the driveway, the kids in the garage. As soon as we got home from school, they'd come over and we started working out and hitting the bag, then go play for a little while, that whole thing. Until the street lights came on. Remember that? Yeah.
Well, until you heard mom or dad whistle or yell for you, right?
Yeah, and my dad didn't do it twice. Let me tell you. I could be in the middle. I could be in the middle of catching the winning touchdown. Hercus, dinner.
Boom. That's right.
My dad was. I'm gonna tell you one time, kind of guy.
That's right. And and isn't that something that in martial arts? I mean, I know I'm telling my 3-year-olds, we're teaching them to be what we call a first-time listener. The discipline might be a little bit different now than it was then for us, but we can save that for another time.
My favorite class, the little guys. My favorite class, the little ones.
I love it. Hey, you've trained and worked with, legends, right? PD, Sugarfoot Cunningham, Don the Dragon Wilson, Mia St. John. What have you learned from being in the ring or on the mat with such talent?
Wow. So, man, I mean, Sensei Peter, Sugarfoot Cunningham is, they're all rare, but Petey's like the diamond, he's so skilled, and courage, the strength, the wisdom, all of those things that we build ourselves on, he just wasn't willing to compromise. He decided to be a champion. That was it. There was nothing else. There was his story in itself. You have to have him on the show.
I would love to have him on the show.
Hey, I'll try to hook you guys up.
Cool.
Okay, his information. But his story's incredible, But, he's a kid from Edmonton, Canada, and became a 5-time or 6-time or 7-time, I can't even count him anymore, world champion. Undefeated. 50, 60 professional fights against top guys on the planet. From, the French, Dita Fat. Oh, man. he had so many amazing fights. When he fought to defend his title, he was defending against the best guys on the planet. You know what I mean? On the planet. And his dedication, being in the dojo with him, watching his work ethic was such a great example for me. He would come in, say hi to everybody, really personable guy. I think you might know that, but Sensei Pete's so charismatic. Everybody loved him. We all loved him. He's so charismatic, man. Joking around and all that, but he backs it up. You know what I mean? And we had a handful of characters like that in the gym. Hector Lopez, he's a boxing champion. So we always ended up in the dojo together, and we knew what we were going to do. Warm up, eventually put on our pads, and then eventually start doing round robin. Petey might run drills for us, like give and take or counters or whatever. But we would train, we would free spar, and he would get on the jump rope for 20 minutes without missing one beat, and he would just get in front of the mirror. And PD, just jump. That's it. Nobody go next to him. And he's done. Starts to shadow box. Stretch a little bit. Starts to shadow box. And I'm like, damn. Look at the discipline. Put on his pads. Everybody start to bang it out a little bit. Then after everything, go hit the heavy bag for 10, 15 rounds. I'm like, damn, if he did a 12-round fight, he'd spar 24 rounds a day. Double what he had to do. If he had a 12-round fight, he'd hit the bags for 24 rounds. Double.
Wow.
Same with shadow boxing, right? Whatever if I have an amateur in here doing 3 rounds for a fight, they're going to do 6 rounds. So I use the same mentality with my fighters.
Yeah.
Same thing, mostly. Want to have less wear and tear on the body, though, with some of it, right? So we want to conserve our body. We know better now, right? Because our bodies got worn out because we thought more was better, right? It's right.
Yep.
Better
Yes,
is
sir.
better.
So I remember I was probably, I don't know, I was 14 or 15 years old. And of course, I think, most martial artists have seen the movie No Retreat, No Surrender. PD was in that movie with Dale Jacoby. And, but I didn't really know who he was until I was a teenager. And then I started watching him fight. And I'll never forget my friend and I, Marcus, I got my grandpa to let me use his credit card so I could buy tickets on Ticketmaster, whatever it was back then. And we went to Vegas to watch PD fight on a card with Dennis Alexia was on there.
I was
Stan
there.
the Man.
I was there.
Kathy Long.
My God.
But PD was always, like one of my favorite fighters to watch. And one of my instructors, you may know her, Tiffany Wing. I know you know Aaron Lawrence. These were people that, trained in and out of the Jet Center and trained with you as well. And, they would always talk about, Sensei Petey. They were just always talking about him. And it just brings me back to think about being a teenager and going and watching him in the ring with all these guys. Just absolutely amazing. It was mesmerizing. I was a huge professional wrestling fan back in the day. And that was, to me, it was like the same, it was the same energy, and being there for live fights. I mean, you just can't beat it.
Yeah. I was there that day too. It's great. And the preparation for that, they were all there training at, not Dennis, because I think he fought one of the Jet Center guys that fight, or did he fight Stan? Oh, that's when he fought Stan.
I think it was, yeah.
So Stan came from Australia, and he trained with us at the Jet Center to get ready for the fight. Peter was there, getting ready for his fight. God, I forget who he fought. Ronnie Green or something. I forget. But and then Kathy Long, and she's a menace. She's a beast. I love Kathy. I trained her. She called me, I don't know, before COVID some years ago. He was going to do a fight. I'm going to say an MMA fight. Hey, can you train me? La, 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 la. I'm like, yeah, Kathy, come on in. Same with Mia, right? I did 16 professional fights with Mia. We fought everywhere from Madison Square Garden all the way to MGM Grand, whatever, and Staples Center. And we're all on all kinds of cards, Oscar De La Hoya shows everywhere, because she had a Bob Arum as her promoter. But just training with them, and Kathy comes in. Yeah. I said, okay, Kathy. And I said, oh, let's put on some gloves. Let's get in the ring. Let's move around. She's blasting me like crazy. I'm like, holy shit to myself. I'm like, oh man, this is her version of working easy, right? Hard, right? Pow, pow. And I'm like, okay, Kathy, hey, let's mellow out a little bit. He was trained by Eric Nolan, and he was a fierce trainer, and that's where she got that badger attitude. But yeah, it was great times, man. Peter's special. I'll try to hook you guys up, okay? He can tell you his story. He taught classes for me for maybe 20 years. He's not here now currently actively teaching. I know he does privates and how we keep it going, but yeah, he ran. I don't know how many fighters we got ready out of here, professional and amateurs, and just regular day-to-day classes. He was here. Everybody loved him. The moms, he had such a personality. The classes were great. Great guy to train under if you ever get a chance.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Would love to talk with him. Now let's switch gears a little bit, because you've balanced a career in martial arts, but also with acting in film and television. How has your martial arts background influenced your work in the entertainment industry, and how'd you break in?
Again, I'll go back to Bruce Lee. When I saw his energy, I was like, that's me. I was like, oh man. That's what I do. When I teach kata, I turn into Bruce Lee, because that's the only way to do a kata, right? Is you got to have crazy. You got to have, that energy, right? So, and then just how he moved. So I was like, oh man, this is great. I originally didn't get into martial arts thinking I'm going to do anything with movies. I did acting completely on its own. For 5 or 6 decades, I've been working in the movie industry, but as an actor solely, I did not even put on martial arts skills on my acting resume, because I didn't want to be, I'm not going to say anybody, but there's a bunch of cheesy martial art movies with bad acting and bad stories. I did not want to do that. I wanted to do Sean Penn, John Boyd, Al Pacino. I wanted to do, Harvey Keitel. I wanted to be an actor, like get into a character and transform. And so I studied, and I did a lot of film and stuff like that. Later, they merged. They opened the school, and you know what it's like when you run a school. You go from doing hobby karate, which I call it, hobby karate, right? Twice a week, 2 hours a week, you go to your class. To me, that's more like hobby karate. And then when you turn into a professional, you make a living doing it. That's how you feed your family. So now you're there at 8 in the morning. You leave at 9 at night. You teach every class. You mop the mats. You do everything. You go pick up the uniforms. You do sales. You answer the phone. You do everything. So I got really deep in learning my craft as a martial arts school owner. It's way different than being a good martial artist. I know a lot of guys that are great martial artists. I know a lot of guys that are great teachers. Not all martial artists can teach. You know that. Correct. So I'll say, oh, he's really good, but he can't teach a lick because he doesn't have the capacity, or they don't have the vision or whatever to teach. They're good at it, but they don't understand how to teach it, right? And then some of them, they open schools, but they don't have the capacity to keep the school open and survive and grow and thrive for 30 years, right? So that to me is kind of my journey, Martial artist, number one. I'm a white belt first. that I'm just a black belt that never quit, or a white belt that never quit. And then I'm a teacher. That's my favorite part of what I do, teach. And then running the dojo, all the stuff we do, man. You know, even this podcast, you know, right? It's sort of like, okay, cool, 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 cool. You know, we have kids, you know. My most my best anything is being a father to my son, Dante. He's 17. He's going to black belt this year. It's an
Nice.
amazing feeling, you know, and, you know, I can't, you know, it's just like, but I'm a single dad, you know, I raised him on my own while I'm opening the school. You know, when my son was born in 2007, now I'm juggling the dojo, my son, and whatever I was doing in the acting world at the time, you know. So my priorities, you know, obviously moved a little bit, but and now I'm cool, you know. I got a great team, and you know, I don't just feel so blessed, you know. 30 years, man.
30 years. It's a long time. And like you said, there are great martial artists, and then there are great teachers, and they don't always go together. I mean, you could have a really great martial artist that can't teach, and you could have I've had some who are really good teachers. Their technique was not, you know, not the best, right? But they knew how to articulate, and they knew how to connect. And like you know, being a dad is pretty darn cool. And being a dad when your son trains or works in the school, which my son does, and I'm sure yours does, it's just what a cool time. And we only get this time for so long, right? And I've been able to really enjoy that. Tell me a little bit about the dynamic with you and your son and training, because a lot of dads have a hard time coaching and teaching their sons. It just doesn't work out. It's not, for whatever reason, just not a good fit. Coaching, you know, they can't separate being dad and being coach. How do you manage that?
Yeah, you know, it's work in progress.
Right.
You know,
This is true.
he respects and appreciates, you know, what I share with him. You know, whether it's a choke or a punch or a counter or a move, but whatever, right? I'm like, hey, Shanti, I want to show you, you know, just keep curriculum fed to him, you know, keep him learning. He loves sparring with me, you know, but he has to take it easy on me now. You know, I haven't sparred with him in a minute, but all of a sudden he got big on me. So, you know, he's 6 feet now, you know. He went from, now he's 6 feet and he's, hey, Dad. Gotta go, you know, hey, Dad, you know, loves grappling. I love it, you know. Those are the two arts or parts of our style I want him to really kind of sink into, you know, just, you know, tap into that, man. We can come back and get the kata later and all of that stuff, you know, but, you know, likes to free flow and bang it out. And we have a playful session, you know, and thank God I can still tap him out, but you know, he's the big boy.
Got to impose that dad strength and just that whole you know, the dad ticket. I'll tell you what, my son's 20, and he's been doing jiu-jitsu. He's been training martial arts since he was 2. You know, I like to mix it up with him a little bit, but there's definitely some times that I'm like, dang it, why did I teach him so good? You know, and then he goes on and he brings his own, you know, he did something that I never did, which was he wrestled in high school, and actually a little bit before high school. So
That's
incorporated
great.
the wrestling and teaching it in our school and just watching him. You know, one of the things for me that I loved watching my son is I tried not to coach him a lot coming up the ranks because I just thought it was better for someone else to coach until it was my time to coach. But, you know, as his skills continue to improve and we our you know, relationship on the mat was always great. But watching him teach other people is just so cool and so amazing to watch him be able to pass that down, right? And the students that he has. So yeah,
That's golden.
It's been a lot of fun. Been a lot of fun for sure.
I had that experience too, where my son comes on the mat, and the first time that I asked him to, like, hey, with the little ones, the 4 and 5-year-olds, he was so gentle and so kind and so patient. I was like, God, you know, pride is all we get out of that. You're just like, oh man, this dude's
Yeah.
golden, man. They
Yeah.
get it. They get it, Sensei. They get it. You're his dad, but he respects you and admires you as a sensei. All the people that admire you and all the people that revere you tell him, how great his dad is. And he's like, Dad, you got to give yourself a little credit once in a while, we always are trying to lift other people up, right, and build them and stuff. And then when we get something happening, we're like, oh, okay, well, thank you, I appreciate it, let me go back to, what do I got to do, right?
Right.
But to take a moment and to reflect on that, it's like, man, look what you've done, and my son's kind of pointing that out to me now too. We just had a ceremony here yesterday. I got promoted to my 10th dan. So there was a bunch of black belts here. Yeah. And I'm like, what does grand mean? I'm like, oh, Dad, he says to me on the way home, we had an amazing conversation. Those car rides after karate with your son?
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
I said, what does grand mean? Grand, he goes, how does it feel to be a grandmaster? I go, I don't know. I'm Sensei Mark. I mean, that's my favorite title. Sensei's cool. They call me Shihan for 20 years, and now I'm going to be GM, I guess. It signifies that I'm the chief. I'm the head of the pack here. Maybe that's about it. Am I the best martial artist on the planet or one of the most deadly men? I don't know. I mean, come on. That's not on my list, but. So I said, grand. So I thought about it, and I said, grand didn't God put us on the planet in His image and want all of His children to become as grand as possible? Right? Grand. I don't care if you're sweep floors, but you're going to be the best MFing floor sweeper. You understand? Whatever journey you get, your goal is to be grand at it. Whatever seat, your parents raise us, your kids, you want them to be grand. You don't want them to be mediocre. Nobody ever said, hey, I'll be happy if they're mediocre. No, your mom, yeah, right. So that's the path we went on. And then eventually with that mindset, I guess you get a title with it, and a belt and everything, but you become grand. I'm like, okay, I think I earned it. Somewhat, 50 years, and hopefully I got another 20 or 30 still left. But so yeah, man. I mean, it's just been a great journey. I can't even tell you.
Yeah. Well, once again, congratulations on your 10th degree. That's amazing and well deserved after many years. But it isn't. After a while, I think when we're young, we do it for the accolades and we do it for the recognition. I mean, listen, I was a young teenager. I loved getting all the attention. I'm sure you did. I think everybody had that taste of that. But after a while, as you mature, you realize it's not about you. It's about the people that we're passing on to. And it's really more about our legacy in the long run and building up the next generation, because we're going to come and go. And all that's going to be left of us is what we taught these students, not my title, not my rank, what I knew, but how I made them feel and what I taught them to do to help other people. And then it just continues to trickle on down. I mean, the discussion of Grandmaster has come up so much lately, and it's just, sometimes I get a little, I'm over it, right? I'm over it. I don't care. I was Master Flame forever, right? And you could put a Grandmaster in front of it, and it doesn't change what my goal is and what my vision is and what I'm going to help others to achieve, right? We just had a student, my head instructor earned his 4th degree, which in Tong Soo is a master. And I thought to myself, man, it is so unbelievably such an honor to present a black belt, and it was even more humbling to present a 4th degree master. I just, I hope that I have the next several decades to continue doing this, because people will ask, Well, what are you going to do, Mark? What are you going to do when you retire? What the hell is retire?
You know, it's funny.
What?
I'm gonna become a motivational speaker.
There you go. There you go.
Why not? You know, I could
Yeah.
do that.
We've been doing that for decades anyway, right? I mean, we motivate
Right.
our students on the mat. That's just what we do.
Right.
Hey, I want to hit one more topic before we get ready to wrap up here in a minute. From working with kids with ADD, ADHD to gang intervention, your community outreach is pretty powerful. What motivates you to continue giving back to your community, and what's been the most impactful moment for you?
Shoot. So hey guys, door. Sorry, sorry, people. It seems like it's that time. The match is going.
Yeah.
I had a bad start with the whole thing when I opened the dojo in the beginning. That was probably one of the most memorable moments where I had a huge gang fight problem in the neighborhood I opened up in. It's a whole story on its own. If I go into it, you're going to be like, oh, we got to get back to Mark on another day. That's a podcast in itself, the opening of the House of Champions. But it was a very intense time in my life. You know, I had opened. I was in the dojo maybe 3 months, and I was forced to leave the neighborhood. I was physically threatened to be killed if I kept my business there. And I was thinking, damn, man, I didn't have anyone to talk to either. I just borrowed $20,000 to open my dojo. You know, my guy Mark Steinman wrote me a check and said, hey man, go do your dream. And I had just gotten the lease and the keys, and within the first 90 days I had a very intense situation and was considering leaving. And then I had to make a life-changing decision. What am I going to do? Run? Am I going to leave? Am I going to go to another neighborhood and then somebody else doesn't like me there either, and then I'm going to run from that? I was like, F no. I'm holding it down here. This is where I'm going to do it. And then there's a whole story after that happened. But long story short, we're here 30 years later. I was able to squash that problem with some help from my friends. But that was a big impact on me. I'll tell you, Jason, I mean, I almost didn't start, you know, I almost got stopped before I got started. You know, and I was like, nah, to fall 7 times, rise 8, right, brother? So I was like, hell no. This is me. I'm here. And we did it. And then COVID hit. And that was another one, right? We could talk about that in a whole podcast, COVID, right?
For sure.
I lost 400 students March 20th, whatever that date was. I didn't charge a nickel after that. I did the suck-ass Zoom classes, hated it. My guys came in. I want to give a shout out to my brother, Jesse Miranda. He is like unbelievable. If anyone is lucky enough to have someone like them, especially in a martial arts facility, but as a good friend and a brother martial artist, and he runs a tight show here, man, he's my ace, Jesse Miranda, Seafood Jesse. And then I got 2 other guys. One is Shihan now, Shane Norblad. He started with me as a kid. He just got his 5th degree yesterday, and he's a Shihan rank now. And also Michael Campos. 2, you know, kids that I've had with me 20 years, 15, 20 years, and you know, they help take out gear, and we taught the classes in the alley when we couldn't be inside the. Now remember, I got 6,500 square feet, so my landlord still wanted to get paid, but we made it. You know, we made it. I made it through that. I was almost gonna tap out on COVID. If my lease hadn't been recently renewed, I probably would have not continued to pay the money I was paying those months that we went out of business. You know, I mean, we had to go out of business. I was still spending 20 grand a month with no payroll and no students. That was just rent and whatever other BS that we pay monthly, right? To run our schools. So I'm like, damn, you know, before I knew it, you know, my little kitty, you know, you save a few bucks in your business account for rainy days, right? As a smart businessman, but that started to go real low, right? Mm-hmm. But we hung in there, you know, hung in there. We just shook it off. We rose again.
Yeah. Well, and
Yeah.
imagine the difference that you couldn't make in the lives of the people that you teach now. In the very early beginning, if you were to close up, you would have not had the opportunity to impact those lives. COVID, but it just goes to show that that's kind of the black belt mentality, right? You've got an
Yep.
obstacle, you got a challenge in your way, and it's not just moving it to the side, it's not just running away from it. It's like solve the problem, go through
Yeah.
the problem. And I mean, we do that as fighters, and we do that as martial artists, and we have to do that in life with a lot of things. So I'm glad you didn't tap out, and I'm glad that you did keep going, because
Yeah. Me too, man.
you've impacted a lot of lives, a lot of good people that I know have been impacted from you. So by
Thank
you.
you.
So
Thank
I
you. Thank you.
appreciate all that you've done in the martial arts community, and thanks for being on the show today. I'm glad we got to do the take two, and we had a good solid connection here to have some great stories. So we'll have to do it again another time, and I hope to catch up again in person. But any last thoughts you want to share with the audience?
No, we're just getting ready for, our summer stuff here at the House of Champions. We're in Van Nuys, California. If anybody ever wants to come in and check us out. My 30-year anniversary, Jason, I'd like to invite you and all your viewers. It's June 28th.
Awesome.
June 28th here at the House of Champions. It's from 12 to 5. We're doing live music and food, and Petey will be here, and all our friends will be here, hopefully, that I've known over the years in my family. So and anybody that wants to check out House of Champions, go to houseofchampions.com. If you want to email me, you have any other questions, any of the viewers or anything like that, I'll get back to you, and I'll look forward to speaking with you again, Mr. Flame.
All right, thank you so much. I look forward to connecting again. And I was actually hoping to be out there this past Saturday. Roseanne Azatat was promoted as well that day.
She got promoted.
And so I was bummed that I couldn't be there. We had our black belt testing that day as well. So it's like sometimes it's just a perfect storm.
It's the way it is.
Yeah.
Hey,
we'll
check us out. Check us out on follow us on our Facebook or and our Instagram too, people. House of Champions, okay? Yeah, we're always doing something.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good. Well,
Cool.
Hey, Mr. Parra, thank you so much for being on the show today. Everybody watching, thank you as well. Please go to Master Motivation Podcast on YouTube and subscribe, and we'll see you next time for another amazing guest. Thank you, Mr. Parra. Thank you so much.
See you again. Okay, Jace. Take care,
Take
buddy.
care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.